Hello students, welcome to Isha Schools. We will be learning English and we will be doing grade 10 now. 10th grade English has two books. One is First Flight and the other is Footprints Without Feet. We will first be focusing on the chapters in First Flight. Let us first know what is there in this chapter, in this book First Flight. It has both prose and poetry. There are 9 chapters in total. The first chapter has one prose, one short story and 2 poems. Like that, each chapter has, some of them has only prose and some has poetry added to it. The first chapter is A Letter to God and it has 2 poems, Dust of Snow, Fire and Ice. The second chapter, Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. It also has a poem, A Tiger in the Zoo. The third chapter, 2 stories about flying, and we'll also have under that we have His First Flight and the Black Aeroplane, and this also has some poetry, 2 of them, How to Tell Wild Animals and the Ball Poem. The fourth chapter has 1 prose and 1 poetry from the Diary of Anne Frank and Amanda. The fifth chapter is Glimpses of India and it has 3 short prose chapters, A Baker from Goa, Coorg and Tea from Assam. This also has a poem, The Trees. Chapter 6 has Mitchbill the Otter as its prose and Fog as the poem. Chapter 7, Madam Rides the Bus, and under which we also have a poem called The Tale of Custard the Dragon. Chapter 8 is The Sermon at Benares, and the poetry coming under this chapter 8 is For Anne Gregory. Chapter 9 has only 1 prose, doesn't have a poem in it, and that's The Proposal. So these are the 9 chapters that we will be doing under First Flight. The other book we will be doing separately. So let us go, in each video we will take 1 prose and do it separately. Poem will be dealt with separately, and one thing that we have to note is for every prose and every poem that we read, let's also learn about the author who has written it, so that we'll get to know who has written the prose or the poem. These are all lovely chapters and we can enjoy reading them, both prose and poetry. So let's go to chapter 1 soon. So let's do this chapter 1. The first chapter titled A Letter to God. This is a short story. It's a lovely piece of writing, and before we get into the chapter, we should know who has written it and what the story is about, so we get to appreciate the story a lot better. So this is chapter 1, A Letter to God. It's a very nice short story written by G.L. Fuentes. So he is the one who has written this lovely, beautiful piece of writing, an excellent short story. A Letter to God is a story written by G.L. Fuentes. It's a story. What is the story about? This story is about a farmer. He's a really poor farmer. It is a story of a farmer's extreme faith in God. So the focus of this story is the farmer's, unquestionable faith in God. He believes that God is there to help him whenever he needs help. The story is entirely about the farmer's unquestionable, unwavering faith in God. The writer G.L. Fuentes has tried to depict the faith of a poor and simple farmer in God in an impressive manner. So before we get into the story, we should know that this story is about a farmer who is poor and his unquestionable faith in God. And this story brings it out, that faith in God that the farmer is brought out so beautifully in this story. So before you read, this is what the book tells us what we are supposed to do before we go into the story. So what are they asking us to do before we get into the story? Lencho is a farmer who writes a letter to God when his crops are ruined, asking for 100 pesos. So who is this Lencho? Lencho is the protagonist of the story. Who is the protagonist? A protagonist is a person who is the main character in any story. So what Lencho does, Lencho is a protagonist and he is a farmer. We know who a farmer is. He's a man who grows crops for a living. So what does Lencho do? He writes a letter to God. Why is he writing a letter to God? Because his crops are ruined. What does ruin mean? Ruin Ruin means getting destroyed. So when his crops are getting destroyed, uh, what does he do? He is writing a letter to God asking for what? For 100 pesos. What is a peso? A peso is a form of currency. Like rupee in India, most of these Latin American countries have peso as their currency. So what is Lencho doing? He is asking for 100 pesos by writing a letter to God. Why is he doing that? He is doing this because his crops have got ruined or got destroyed. Does Lencho's letter reach God? This is the first question they're asking us to think about before we get into this story. Okay, so does God send him the money? Think what your answers to these questions would be and guess how the story continues before you begin to read it. So what are they asking us to do? They have posed some questions to us. They are asking some questions and telling us to guess what these answers would be before we read the story. Okay, so what are these questions? Does Lencho's letter reach God? Does Lencho's letter. So imagine a situation where you or I, we are writing a letter to God. We are in some trouble and we need to write a letter to God. Do you think in this case Lencho has written a letter to God? So do you all think that this letter will literally reach God? Is God going to get his letter? That is the first question. Second question is, does God send him the money? Because he has asked for 100 pesos to God. So do you all think that this letter will first reach God? Second is, will God send him the money that he has asked from God? What do you all think? So what I feel is literally God is not going to get the letter, like as in receive the letter in the letter form. Literally it is not going to reach God. But I do believe that immense faith in God will definitely help anyone. So this letter may bring some form of help, even if it does not literally in the letter form reach God. So it may not reach God in the literal form, but does God send him the money? You can think and come up with your own answers, but what I feel is that God may not personally send him the money, but if we have immense faith in God, what he can do is that he will send us help through some other people. So this is how this story starts. The house, the only one in the entire valley, sat on the crest of a low hill. So, what is crest? This is the first word. Before we read a story, we should really understand every word possible in the story so that we get to enjoy it to the fullest. The house, the only one in the entire valley. So they are starting with this term, the house. So it means there is only one house. And that is what the statement also says. What does it state? What does it state? It states that this one house is the only one in the entire valley, in that whole valley that is being talked about here. This house is the only one. And where is it? It sat on the crest of a low hill. What does crest mean? Top of a hill. So the hill stands like this, and this house that we are talking about is somewhere on the top of a hill. So this is the crest. And this is where house is. So the house, the only one in the entire valley, sat on the crest of a low hill. So this low hill means it's a smaller hill. It's not a huge mountain or something. It's a smaller hill, and this house is the only one that is in this entire place sitting on the crest. Okay. Going to the next line. From this height, one could see the river and the field of ripe corn dotted with the flowers that always promised a good harvest. So, what are they talking about here? So, from this height, from which height are they meaning? So, if you stand here on the top of the hill at that height, if you stand and look at it, what can we see? We can see the river. This river that's flowing, and the field of ripe corn. So we have a field of corn growing here on the side of the river, dotted with flowers. Dotted means it's growing here and there. You can see flowers in the field growing here and there beautifully. So if one stands on the top of this hill and sees, what we can see is the river and the field of ripe corns that are having flowers here and there, and that look really beautiful, and that always promised a good harvest. So now when you look at the crops here, the corn that's growing, one can feel that the farmer is going to get a really good harvest this time. The only thing the earth needed was a downpour, or at least a shower. So there are two words here that may require meaning. One is downpour and the other is a shower. So the only thing the earth needed was a downpour, or at least a shower, means everything else is there. The corn is growing well, there are flowers, there's a river, everything is there. What we need now is a downpour. A downpour means heavy rain. So what this farmer needs now is a heavy rain. What they have beautifully written here. See, what the earth was needed was a downpour. If not a downpour, okay, if you don't get a downpour, at least what does the farmer need? He needs a shower. A shower means light rain. So now everything else is there, that the only thing that the earth needed now was a heavy rain, or at least some light rain would do. Throughout the morning, Lencho, who knew his fields intimately, had done nothing else but see the sky towards the northeast. So there is one word for which we need to know the meaning here. This is intimately, which means closely. So throughout the morning, Lencho, who knew his fields intimately, had done nothing else but see the sky towards the northeast. Meaning what? Throughout the morning, Lencho did nothing other than looking at the sky towards the northeast direction. Also, they are saying that he knew his fields intimately, meaning he knew his fields in a very close manner. Let's try to understand to use this word intimately. When do we say intimately? When we know someone very closely. Let's try to use it in a sentence in day-to-day life that we can say, my parents know me intimately, meaning they know a lot about me. They're very close to me, so they know a lot about me. Like that, Lencho, because he has been working in his fields, he knows his fields that closely. But this guy who knew his fields this closely did not do anything other than looking at the sky in the northeast direction. Why is he doing that? We will get to know in the next paragraph. What is he saying now? He is just looking at the sky in the northeast direction and he is telling, now we are really going to get some water, woman. See, it's given in inverted commas. That means it's exactly what Lencho is saying. What is he saying? Now we are going to get some water. Here, when he says water, he is talking about rain. And when he says woman, who is he addressing it to? He is telling this entire statement to his wife. So what Lencho is telling is that we are going to get some rain, and he is saying that to his wife. The woman who was preparing supper, this is some word that we should know the meaning of. Supper means dinner. A dinner that is taken early in the evening is called supper. The woman who was preparing supper replied, yes, God willing. So when Lencho is saying that they are going to get some rain, what does his wife reply? She says, yes, if God is willing, we will get some good rain. The older boys were working in the field while the smaller ones were playing near the house until the woman called to them all, come for dinner. So what's happening here? The older boys were working in the field. So like we saw in the previous two paragraphs, we know that there is a huge cornfield in which Lencho is working, right? So the older boys were all working in that field and the younger, smaller ones were playing all around the house. Then till this happened till when? Till his wife goes out and she says, come for dinner. She is calling everyone inside for dinner. So it is late in the evening now. She has made dinner because we were informed in the previous sentence that she was preparing supper, which means dinner. So she is calling all her boys inside to have supper. The next paragraph. It was during the meal that, just as Lencho had predicted, big drops of rain began to fall. So here is one new word we should know the meaning of, which is predicted. What does predicted mean? It means to expect something, to forecast something. So about something that has not happened yet, you have an idea or you say that this is going to happen before the event happens. Predict is to forecast something that happens before the event does. Say for an example, I can use this in a sentence like this. I predict that all of you are going to score excellently well in your English exam. That is my prediction. So that is how Lencho predicted that there would be rain. We saw in the last paragraph that he is telling his wife that there is going to be good rain, like that, like how he had said before. It was during the meal, so as they were eating, just as Lencho predicted, like how Lencho had told already, big drops of rain began to fall. So this is a really good thing because this is what the earth wanted. This is what Lencho wanted because the crop is just beautifully growing and all he wants is some heavy rain. If not heavy rain, at least some light rain is what they wanted. And now as they are eating, big drops of rain are falling, and this is such a lovely thing for this family. In the northeast, huge mountains of clouds could be seen approaching. Here we see that there is a mention of huge mountains of clouds. Does it literally mean that there are mountains of clouds? No. So, it is just a metaphor, meaning there's a play around comparing one to the other. What does this mountain of clouds means? It means clouds huge in size like mountains. That's what it means. It doesn't really mean mountain of cloud is coming. It just means in the northeast direction there is there are huge clouds the size of mountains, that big clouds, though it's really heavy size, big clouds are coming up, could be seen approaching. Approaching means to arrive. So in the northeast direction where Lencho was looking for rain, he could see big clouds coming. The air was fresh and sweet. So how did it feel all around? They're all having a happy meal together. Raindrops are falling. Just imagine someone really wants rain. The farmer really wants rain. They're having, as a family, they're sitting together. They're having a good meal. They are seeing that the rain that they badly wanted is coming. And as Lencho said, he is seeing like really big clouds coming. All that they wanted is happening, and the air was fresh. We all know, like suddenly there is rain, what do? We go out or we look through the window, inhale that fresh nice smell of soil, rain falling on soil. So it gives that real fresh feeling to all of us, and that is what is happening in the story also. The air was fresh and sweet. The wind is carrying the smell of corn, rain falling on soil, that smell of earth, everything is making it so wonderful. The man went out for no other reason than to have the pleasure of feeling the rain on his body, and when he returned, he exclaimed, "These aren't raindrops falling from the sky, they are new coins. The big drops are 10-cent pieces and the little ones are fives." So he's fully excited now. What does he do? The man went out. So he is Lencho. The man here is Lencho. So he's gone out. For what did he go out? Just for the sheer joy of feeling rain on his body. I'm sure all of us would have done it at some point in our lives. Like even when we were children or even the adults in our houses, we could have seen there's a heavy rain. We all want to go out and just feel the joy of having that rain over us. The same thing Lencho also does. He goes out just to get the pleasure of feeling rain on his body. That same joy he also wanted to feel. And when he does that, he is very happy feeling rain all over his body. And he returned to his house back. And then after he returned, he exclaimed. Exclaimed means to say with so much excitement. He is excited. And then he is saying what? These aren't raindrops falling from the sky. They are new coins. So what does he say? He is saying the ones that are falling down are not raindrops. They are actually coins. But does that mean that there are coins falling from the sky? Does it literally mean that it is not raindrops but it is coins? No. It just means that because these raindrops will give crops more to him, the harvest will be really good and he can make more money. That is what he is meaning when he says these are not raindrops but they are new coins, right? So you should not think that it is actually coins falling from the sky. No, it is only raindrops. But why is Lencho calling them new coins? Because these raindrops are going to make his crops grow very well. He can sell them, he can get more money, and that is why he is thinking that they are coins. The big drops are 10-cent pieces and the little ones are fives. So what is he saying? The bigger drops are 10 cents and the smaller ones are 5-cent pieces. So this is what is happening. As they're all eating the meal, and after the meal he goes out, he's having so much joy enjoying the rain, and then he's happily saying, lovely, we are going to get so much money now. So what does he do next? With a satisfied expression, he regarded the field of ripe corn with its flowers draped in a curtain of rain. So, draped here, already you have it written here. Drape means covered with cloth generally. We can use it otherwise also, but draped generally means to covered. We use it, say, for example, she draped a sari over herself, means you wrap it, you cover yourself with something. So with a satisfied expression, what does this mean? Because the rain that he badly wanted is on, they're all happy, and so that gives him a lot of contentment. See how simple this guy Lencho is. He's such a simple farmer that just rain has given him so much contentment and satisfaction. So with that satisfied look on his face, a satisfied expression is a contented look. He is like, enough, this is enough for me. What I wanted, I have got. That kind of contentment he is having, and with that look, he regarded the field of ripe corn. What does that mean here? Regarded, looked. Here in this context, it means he is deep with good, with that satisfied, contented expression on his face. He is looking at his field of ripe corn with its flowers. So the corn with its flowers is there, and he is very happy and contented. He is looking at it, draped in a curtain of rain. Here the field is draped in a curtain of rain, because covered in a curtain of rain, because raindrops have started falling, right? But suddenly, a strong wind began to blow, and along with the rain, very large hailstones began to fall. So, as he is looking contentedly, satisfied with the rain that's falling, what happened? Suddenly, something unexpected happened. What was that? A strong wind began to blow, and along with the rain, large hailstones began to fall. What are hailstones? They are those little blocks or small and big rocks of ice. They are ice blocks. So what happened now? The rain that was falling, suddenly what happened? Strong wind began to blow, and along with that, these hailstones began to fall, meaning blocks of ice, small and big rocks of ice began to fall from the sky. These truly did resemble new silver coins. How did they appear? Because they were rocks, like small pebble rock like structures, these ice balls, and they're silvery in color. They did really look like silver coins. So it appeared like silver coins are falling from the sky. The boys exposing themselves to the rain. What does exposing mean? Expose is to reveal, to show, to reveal to someone. Okay, so the boys exposing themselves to the rain ran out to collect the frozen pearls. What is frozen pearls? We all know what pearls are. Pearls are those round, beautiful structures that we get from oysters, right? We also make beautiful jewelry. You would have seen, you would have worn, and you would have also seen people in your houses wear jewelry made of pearls, earrings, necklaces, bangles, and stuff. So, because the rain now has more or less turned to hailstones, it is being compared, these hailstones are being compared to silver coins and pearls. So what are the boys doing now? They are exposing themselves to the rain, meaning they're running out their houses under the rain, they're getting wet, and they ran out to do what? To gather, to collect means to gather. So they are gathering frozen pearls, not actually pearls. They to collect these ice rocks that are falling from the sky. So these boys have all run out to gather these, these hailstones that are falling. It's really getting bad now, exclaimed the man. Who is the man here? The man is Lencho. And what's he saying? He's saying it's really getting bad now. Because he was expecting rain. But what has happened now? It has become hailstones, which is not at all good. Okay? So it is saying it's really getting bad now. I hope it passes quickly. So he's saying, so this is not the rain we wanted for the crops. Because it has started, stones, these hailstones have started falling. I hope it passes away quickly now. So he wants these hailstones to go away. He wants rain to fall. It did not pass quickly. So what does he want? He wants it to pass quickly, but does it? No, it does not pass quickly. For an hour, the hail rained on the house, the garden, the hillside, the cornfield, on the whole valley. So he is literally wishing that the hailstones will go away. But does it go? No. For an hour, all these hailstones are falling where? They are falling on his house, the garden nearby, the hillside, on his cornfield, and the entire valley now is covered with these hailstones. The field was white as if covered with salt. Why is the field white? Because these hailstones have fallen down now and they have completely covered the surface of the soil, and therefore the field is also covered with these hailstones, and it looks like it is covered with salt. It looks like someone has put salt all over the area. Because the hailstones are made of ice and because they are white, the entire field looks like it has been covered with salt. Not a leaf remained on the trees. Why? Over the trees, we don't see a single. Lencho is watching and he's saying that there is not a single leaf left on the trees. These hailstones are like rocks, right? So that weight and the pressure with which all these fall down has made the trees lose the leaves. The corn was totally destroyed. What did Lencho want? He wanted rain. For what? For the corn to grow well so he could have a really good harvest and make some money for living. But now what has happened? Because of the hailstones, all his corn has got destroyed. Destroyed, like we saw before, ruined. The flowers were gone from the plants. So the field was dotted with flowers that looked so beautiful. Everything is gone now. It's such a sad thing. We all know how difficult it is for farmers to make a living. They are entirely dependent on rain, and over which they have no control at all. See, for 1 minute he was so happy that the rain that he wanted is there. The next minute something unexpected happened and it ruined everything. His crop is gone, the flowers and the plants are gone, the leaves and the trees are gone. Lencho's soul was filled with sadness. So his deep inside him, he felt so much sadness because his entire family's well-being depended on the money that he could make from the crops that he could sell. Now the corn is completely ruined and whole of his inside is filled with such sadness. It's really such a sad thing to happen. When the storm had passed, he stood in the middle of the field and said to his sons, "A plague of locusts would have left more than this. The hail has left nothing. This year we will have no corn." It's really sad. Look what he's saying. What he does now, because he saw that all his crops are ruined, he's feeling so much sadness in his heart. He goes out, stands in the middle of the field, and he's telling his sons. What is he telling his sons? A plague of locusts would have left more than this. What does this mean? Locusts. What are locusts? They are insects which fly in big swarms or groups and destroy crops. So what he is saying is, even if there was an infestation, even if there was a huge swarm of locusts that would have affected my corn, they would have left a little more. Now everything is destroyed by what? By this hail. So what he says is that a plague is, in this context they mean a group. Plague is also a disease that kills people in groups, but here a plague of locusts means a huge swarm of these insects. If they had attacked the field, some of it would have remained, but now this hail has completely destroyed and has left nothing. This year we will have no corn. He's really sad and dejected, and then he's saying everything is gone and for this year we will have no more corn. That night was a sorrowful one. Why is it a sorrowful one? It is sorrowful because everything is gone. Their entire life depended on the money that the crops would make. But so they are very sad. All of them in the entire family is sad. All our work for nothing. They have worked so much for so many months. So much of hard work had gone into this growing the corn here, but everything is suddenly destroyed in just an hour. And so Lencho is saying all our work for nothing. Everything is waste now. There's no one who can help us. They're all feeling so sad and dejected. They've given up and they're saying, there's no one who can help us now. We'll all go hungry this year. So there is no money. The crops are destroyed. He has nothing to sell. So what he is saying is that all of them are going to be hungry this year. Okay, so till this, what we have described now, everything that has happened, the book has an oral comprehension check. Okay, so there are some questions that are asked in the book which we can go back and revise and see if we have understood the story till now. We will get back to this and answer them well in probably in a separate video, but we can go back and see if you all have understood the story till now. The first is, what did Lencho hope for? So initially in the story, what did Lencho want, or what did he hope for? He wanted rain, right? That's why he was sitting and looking at northeast direction, hoping for clouds to come and bring some rain to his crops, right? So what did Lencho hope for? He was a simple man. He wants very minimal things in life. All he wants as a farmer is his crops to grow. So he was hoping for some rain. Simple rain, a heavy rainfall. If not that, at least some shower is what he expected or hoped for. Why did Lencho say the raindrops were like new coins? So like we discussed before, he said that they were like new coins because as more rain falls, the crops will grow very well. He can sell them and make money. So he equated the raindrops for new coins because that is going to give him more money. How did the rain change? What happened to Lencho's fields? So initially he was very happy that raindrops fell. He went out, he enjoyed and all that. But what happened? How did the rain change? The rain changed into hail and brought down hailstones. So little rocks of ice started falling down, and it completely changed because that is going to destroy his crops. It's not going to let the crops grow. What happened to Lencho's fields? We all know the hail did not stop. There were hailstones falling on the fields all over, and then they destroyed all his crops. What happened to Lencho's fields? All of Lencho's fields were covered with hailstones. They looked like it was covered with salt, and all his corn got destroyed. What were Lencho's feelings when the hail stopped? How did Lencho feel when the hail stopped? He saw that his crops were ruined. He saw everything covered with snow. He saw that there were no leaves on the trees, all his flowers gone, all his crops ruined. How would anyone feel in this situation? He felt extreme sadness in his heart, and his soul felt very dejected, and he thought, all this work that I did, I suffered, I worked so much in my fields for all this time, and everything has gone to nothing. He felt very sad and very dejected when the hail stopped. Let us continue and get into the story and see what happens further. So till now what has happened is the hail stones have destroyed Lencho's crops, and he's really sad about it, and then he's worried that his entire family is going to stay hungry now. But in the hearts of all who lived in that solitary house in the middle of the valley, there was a single hope: help from God. In the hearts of all who lived in that solitary house. What does solitary house mean? Solitary means standing single, it's alone. So this is what solitary means. We knew that the house was a single one in the entire valley. That was the first sentence of the story, right? So in that house that was standing all alone in this entire valley, in the hearts of all who were all living in that house, Lencho, his wife, his children, all of them, in the hearts of all these people, there was a single hope. When everything else has gone to dust, when all his efforts have gone waste and all the crops have got destroyed, still there was one hope in the mind and the heart of all the people, him, Lencho, his wife and children. What was that? Help from God. They believed, they truly believed that there will be help from God. Don't be so upset, even though this seems like a total loss. What does he say, Lencho say? Don't be really totally upset. Now it looks like, though it seems like a total loss, now it appears like everything is gone, but don't be very upset. Remember, no one dies of hunger. He truly believes that God will help. No one will die of hunger. Even if everything has gone to waste, there will be some form of help from God, is what they truly believed. That is what they say. No one dies of hunger. So Lencho and his family truly believe that there is going to be help from God and that no one is going to die of hunger. Okay, so the next. All through the night, Lencho thought only of this one hope, the help of God, whose eyes, as he had been instructed, sees everything, even what is deep in one's conscience. So, through that night, Lencho thought only of this one hope. Now everything is gone, everyone is sad. But all through the night, Lencho had this single strong hope. That was the help of God. He believes that something will happen and God will help him. And what truly he believes is that eyes of God, help of God, whose eyes, as he had been instructed. What does instructed mean here? Instructed, as he has been told. Like he has been told by others that the eyes of God see everything, even what is deep in one's conscience. What does conscience mean? Conscience means the thing that is there inside you that tells you what is right or wrong. When there is something inside us that tells us this is right and this is wrong, that's our conscience. So what Lencho believes is that God sees everything. Even the ones that's deep within your conscience, God is able to see. Lencho was an ox of a man. What does ox of a man mean? He is like an ox. He is very hardworking. That's what ox of a man mean. He is a strong man. He works like an ox is what it means. That actually means he is a very, very hardworking, strong man. Lencho was an ox of a man working like an animal in the fields. So he is like an animal. He works so strong, so much like an animal he works, but still he knew how to write. He was a farmer. He works very hard and very for long duration. He works in the fields like an animal. Still, he knew to write and read. So, what did he do? The following Sunday at daybreak. What does daybreak mean? Daybreak is dawn, when the sun is rising. So, at daybreak, he began to write a letter which he himself would carry to town and place in the mail. So, that Sunday, what is he doing? He is sitting and he started writing a letter which he wanted to go and put it in the box, mailbox by himself. It was nothing less than a letter to God. So for whom is he writing a letter? Who is he writing a letter to? He is writing a letter to God because he is in distress and the entire family believes in only one thing now, that is help from God. They know for sure, they believe in their hearts that God is going to help them. So because he knows to read and write, he takes a paper and he writes a letter to God. What does he write? God, he wrote, if you don't help me, my family and I will go hungry this year. So how is he addressing the letter? He starts by writing God. So he is calling God, and what does he say? If you don't help me, my family and I will go hungry this year. So you have to help me. If you don't, we will all become hungry. I need 100 pesos in order to sow my field again and to live until the crop comes because the hailstorm. So that's what he is writing. What does he say? We will go hungry. What does he want? He is asking for 100 pesos. For what does he want this 100 pesos? Because he has to sow again. Everything is ruined. He has to sow again till the crops grow. He needs money to survive, right? To eat and live. Basic needs have to be taken care of. So for that, he starts writing. He doesn't even finish the sentence fully because the hailstorm means, what does it mean? Because the hailstorm has destroyed my crops. I need 100 pesos. That's what he is asking God. He wrote to God on the envelope. On the cover, in which he places a letter. We normally, have you all written a letter to someone? These days we don't even write letters. So when we write a letter on a sheet of paper, we put it on an envelope on which we write the address to whom this letter should go, right? So what does he write? He just writes to God on the envelope. Where is the address? Where do you send this letter to? Because God is everywhere, right? Where do you put how do you put an address on it? He doesn't write any address. So he just writes to God on the envelope, puts the letter inside, and still troubled went to the town. What did Lencho do? Wrote a letter, addressed it to God, folded it, put it on an envelope in which he had written to God, and then still troubled, meaning even though he has written the letter to God, he still is really troubled inside. He is worried. What would he do? His family is going to be hungry. So he went to town. For what did he go to town? He had to post this letter. At the post office, he placed a stamp on the letter and dropped it into the mailbox. So where did he go? He went to the post office, got a stamp. I don't know if you all know how to post letters because it has become a very rare thing these days. So in case you're writing a letter and putting it in an envelope, then you have to affix a stamp. Depends on the weight of the letter, the value of the stamp will vary. So he got a stamp that was required for the letter that he was writing, put it affixed, means placed, and he placed a stamp upon the letter. So he put that stamp upon the envelope and dropped it into the mailbox. He put it into the mailbox. One of the employees, who was a postman and also helped at the post office, went to his boss, laughing heartily, and showed him the letter to God. So he has dropped it into the mailbox. What happens to the letter that's put in a mailbox? So you write a letter to your friend. What happens? You write a letter, put it in an envelope, write your friend's name and address on it, put a stamp on the letter and put it into the mailbox in the post office. What happens to this letter? The people at the post office, the postman and other helpers there, collect these letters, sort them according to address and location, and then deliver them, send them to the different cities or different places, and they get delivered to the respective houses. So when one of the employees who was a postman, so one postman who was working in that post office, he also helped at the post office. What did he do? He took this letter and showed it to his boss, laughing heartily. Laughing heartily means full on. He is like having a lot of fun and fully open laugh. He is enjoying and laughing. Why did he laugh? Because first time he is seeing someone write a letter to God. There is no address, it's just written to God. So it seems very funny and surprising to him. So he picks that letter and goes to the boss, the one who runs the place, the postmaster. The postmaster takes it, and then the postman takes it and then goes to the boss, who is the postmaster there, and showed him the letter to God. Never in his career as a postman had he known that address. He has never seen a letter being written to God. So this is the first time. And so he is laughing. It seems very funny to him that someone would write a letter to God and put it off in the mailbox. So he just takes it to his boss and shows him. The postmaster, a fat, amiable fellow, also broke out laughing, but almost immediately he turned serious and, tapping the letter on his desk, commented, "What faith! Wish I had the faith of the man who wrote this letter. Starting up a correspondence with God." So this postman feels this to be very funny, and he takes it to the postmaster. And this postmaster, a fat, amiable fellow. Fat, we all know, he's a little overweight. Amiable means friendly. So this guy, the postmaster, who is the head of this post office, is a big, fat, very friendly guy. When he sees this letter, he also first starts laughing. And then, immediately after laughing, he suddenly gets a little serious. And why does he get serious? And he thinks, and he just taps his letter on his desk like this and he's just wondering, and he is thinking and he's commenting, and he's saying, what faith, what immense faith. If someone has just dropped a letter saying to God, what faith that person should be having. So he is like really feeling very, first he laughs, like it seemed funny initially, but then he realizes what faith this person should have to even write a letter, put it off, just address it to God, and he has put it off in the mailbox. Wish I had the faith of the man who wrote this letter, starting up a correspondence with God. So he's saying, this faith I wish I had in God. He has just started a conversation with God like that, writing a letter. What faith this person has, and he wishes that he had that faith in him. So, in order not to shake the writer's faith in God, the postmaster came up with an idea. So, what does the postmaster want to do now? He is really, he feels so nice that someone has this much faith in God. So, he does not want to destroy that faith. If this letter would not be answered, then Lenshaw may feel that he will lose that faith in God, right? So he is looking up to God and asking for help by writing a letter to him. The postmaster feels that if there is no response, then Lenshaw will feel disheartened. He might even lose faith in God. So in order not to shake the writer's faith in God, he doesn't know who wrote this letter. So he is thinking whoever wrote this letter should not lose the faith in God. So the postmaster came up with an idea. He got an idea. What is that idea? Answer the letter. What did he want to do? he wanted to write back to the person who wrote a letter to God. But when he opened it, it was evident. It was evident means clear. So when he opened the letter and read it, it became clear to him that to answer that letter, to answer it, he needed something more than goodwill. What does goodwill mean? Intention to help. Here, the postmaster, what was his intention? What was his good intention? His good intention was that he needed to help the person who wrote this letter by not making him lose his faith in God, right? So once he opened the letter, he realized that just good wishes will not be enough. Why? Because what did Lencho ask for in this letter? He had asked for 100 pesos. So the postmaster realized that just good wishes at heart is not going to be enough to answer this letter. So it was evident that to answer it, he needed something more than goodwill. What was that something more? It was 100 pesos. He needed something more than goodwill, ink and paper. So he now only has goodwill, intention, good intention, ink and paper with him. But what was needed? Something more was needed. What was that something more? It was 100 pesos. But he stuck to his resolution. Resolution means he has decided that he has to do something and he wants to stick to it. What was his resolution? His resolution was that he should not shake the writer's faith in God. He did not have 100 pesos, but he still wanted to keep up the resolution, to keep up his mind. He wanted to help that person not lose faith in God. So he wanted to continue helping this person. He asked for money from his employees. He himself gave part of his salary, and several friends of his were obliged. Obliged generally means forced to help someone. But here, what it means is several friends of his were obliged to give him something for an act of charity. Here, what does it mean? So what did he do? The postmaster, he asked for money from people who are working in the post office. He himself gave a part of his salary, and he also approached several of his friends. And because your friend is asking, you can't say no, right? So people were obliged to, they were constrained to help him because friend is asking, they can't say no. So they also gave something for an act of charity. Charity is to help someone in need. So the postmaster, after seeing the letter, realized that just goodwill, ink and paper won't be enough. He needed money. So he approached all the people who were working in the post office. He himself gave a part of his salary, and he also approached his friends who contributed something because they were obliged to help. It was impossible for him to gather together the 100 pesos. Was it possible? 100 pesos is big thing for these people. So for him it was impossible to collect all 100 pesos. So he was able to send the farmer only a little more than half. So whatever he could gather, which was more than half, more than 50 pesos, he gathered some money that he could from contributions by everyone and himself too. And then he sent it to the farmer. Who is the farmer here? Lencho. He put the money in an envelope addressed to Lencho, and with it a letter containing only a single word as a signature, God. What did he do? He took all the money that he collected, put it in an envelope, and with that he placed a letter. He wrote nothing in it, just signed it as God, and he addressed it to Lencho. So the next set of oral comprehension check comes here. So we'll have to go back and see if we have understood the story well. Who or what did Lencho have faith in? What did he do? We all know, who did Lencho put his faith in? He put his faith in God. Who or what did Lencho have faith in? So Lencho had immense faith, unquestionable faith. Whatever happens, he knows that God is there to help him. No one can shake that faith that he had in God. So he had immense faith in God, and what did he do? Because of that faith in God, he wrote a letter to God asking for 100 pesos so that he could maintain his family till the next season of crop harvest comes. So what did he do? He wrote a letter to God asking for 100 pesos. Who read the letter? So the people at the post office read the letter, and the post man who saw the letter addressed to God took it to the postmaster, and the postmaster read the letter. What did the postmaster do then? After reading the letter, the postmaster did not want Lencho to lose his faith in God. So what did he do? He knew that he needed money, not just ink, paper and good wishes at heart. So he himself contributed some money, and then he collected some money from the people working in the post office. He also asked his friends to contribute some money, and then put everything together in an envelope and then addressed it to Lencho and posted. The following Sunday, Lencho came a bit earlier than usual to ask if there was a letter for him. It was the postman himself who handed the letter to him, while the postmaster, experiencing the contentment of a man who has performed a good deed, looked on from his office. So, after the postmaster put the letter, what happened? That Sunday, Lencho came in. He came a little earlier only because he was sure that God would respond. That was his faith in God. So he came, and then he asked if there was a letter for him. The postman gave the letter. It was not from God, right? It was the postmaster who wrote it to Lencho and signed his God inside. So he handed that letter to Lencho. What was the postmaster doing? He was sitting inside and he was watching this thing happening from his office. And what was he feeling? He was experiencing the contentment of a man who has performed a good deed. Meaning, contentment is satisfaction. So this postmaster feels really good because he is satisfied, because he has helped someone in need. So with that good feeling at heart, he is looking at the postman and Lencho from his office. Immediately, Lencho went up to the window to ask for paper and ink. What did he do? Lencho then went to the window, asked for paper and ink. Okay. On the public writing table, he started to write. With much wrinkling of his brow, caused by the effort he had to make to express his ideas. What did he do? He went to the window, he got paper and ink, and then like he was really straining and he was crossing his brows because he had to strain and write something very seriously, and caused by the effort he had to make express his ideas. He had something in his head and he had to put it in words, and he was really concentrating and focusing how to say this. So with immense concentration and effort, he had something in his head and he had to put so much effort to write it, and with all that he wrote something on the paper. When he finished, he went to the window to buy a stamp, which he licked and then affixed to the envelope with a blow of his fist. So after writing, what did he do? He wrote something, and when he was done, he finished writing, he went to the window to do what? Again, he had to place a stamp. So he got a stamp and he licked the stamp. He licked the stamp to stick it. Affix means to stick. So he licked the stamp and then he stuck it on the envelope with a blow of his fist. What did he do? With the blow of his fist. Fist is this. He just did like this and stuck the stamp to the envelope. The moment the letter fell into the mailbox, the postmaster went to open it. So the moment he dropped the letter into the mailbox, the postmaster was really curious. Okay, he wanted to know what was the response from Lencho. So he went and opened it. It said, what did it say? God, of the money that I asked for, only 70 pesos reached me. How much did Lencho ask for in his first letter? He asked for 100 pesos. How much was there? Only 70 was there. So he is saying, of the money that I asked for, only 70 pesos has reached me. Send me the rest, since I need it very much. So it may seem like he's rude. Okay, it may seem, when we read this, we may feel like he's demanding. We may feel like he's got 70 pesos, but look at the way he's asking God. But he feels so friendly and so close to God that he's saying, I want the remaining, send me the rest. And it also shows that he's really honest. Okay, he could have asked for 1,000 pesos also. He didn't. He knew that he wanted only 100 pesos and he asked exactly for that. And that is why he's feeling bad that he did not get those 100 pesos and only 70 was there. So he's asking God to send the remaining. Since I need it very much, give me the rest. But don't send it to me through the mail, because the post office employees are a bunch of crooks. And he signs it as Lencho. What are crooks? Crooks are bad people, thieves, bad guys. Why does he say call them crooks? Because he thinks that God sent 100 pesos and the post office guys have taken away the remaining 30 pesos and they have left only 70. This is what he understood. Because of his immense faith in God, he thinks God definitely would have sent 100, and that is why he writes, but don't send it to me through the mail, because the post office employees are a bunch of crooks. So it is very ironical. Why is it ironical? It is because the postmaster did his best. He gave his own money to send the 70 pesos. Was with so much difficulty the postmaster sent it to him. But Lencho feels that that money was taken by the post office people, and therefore he has written, please don't send it through mail because the post office guys are a bunch of crooks. So this is the immense faith that Lencho had in God, and that is why he is asking him to send the remaining 30 pesos. So the questions for this will be doing in a separate video. Oral comprehension check for the final thing. Was Lencho surprised to find a letter for him with money in it? Was Lencho surprised? Not at all. He was rather expecting a letter. That is why he went early to the post office that day and is asking the postman there, I would have got a letter, where is it? And he gets the letter. Was he surprised to find a letter for him with money in it? Absolutely not. He was not at all surprised. That was the immense faith he had in God. What made him angry? What made him angry? He was angry because he did not get 100 pesos from God. He was angry that only 70 pesos were there in it. And he was angry because he thought that the people working in the post office stole his 30 pesos. And that is why when he writes to God again, he says, don't send it through mail. These guys are a bunch of crooks. So we finished with the oral comprehension check of this chapter. So let me sum up this chapter before we end it. This is a story that talks about a poor farmer who has immense faith in God. He loses everything because rain fails him. He feels completely disappointed and let down. He feels that his hard work has gone to waste. So he has no one to go to but God. So he writes a letter to God asking for 100 pesos so he and his family could survive and live till the next batch of crops come up. And he writes a letter. The postmaster sees it and he wants to make Lencho have that continued faith in God, because if there is no response to his letter, he might lose his faith. Therefore, the postmaster collects money with so much difficulty and sends it in the form of a letter to Lencho. He could only manage to get 70 pesos in place of 100. But when Lencho sees this, he finds that 30 pesos are less. He feels very dejected and he feels let down. So he writes back to God and then he says, give me back give me more, give me those 30 pesos because I really need 100 and you have sent me only 70, and don't please send it through the mail because these guys steal them. That's what he means. But actually it is very, very ironical because the postmaster is the one who has helped him. But despite all this, one thing that actually stands out in this entire story, one is the story is really simple to understand. A few words are ones that we need to look up for the meaning of, but otherwise it's anyone can simply understand the story. It talks about how simple this person is, this Lencho is, how simple his family is. All they ask is for rain, and even when the rain fails him, he is not asking for a lot of money. He asks exactly what would keep his family going, only that much. He asks only for 100 pesos because he needs that 100, and that is exactly why he feels a little let down when he gets only 70. Okay, so though the story, we feel sad for Lencho initially, and towards the end it might feel like he's not appreciating what the postmaster has done. It might feel for us like this, but he doesn't know that, right? He doesn't know that it was the postmaster or the people in the post office who have sent him. He still thinks it is God who has sent him, and therefore he, from his perspective, if we look at it, he feels that the post office guys have stolen the money, and that is why he has written asking for the remaining 30 pesos to be sent. It's such a lovely piece of writing by Fluentus, and I hope you all understood this entire short story written by him and appreciated it. And what the story gives us is the motivation that if we put our faith in God, help will come in some form of the other. God may not directly come down or write a letter to us, but it is through God's wishes that other people come to help us. This is what is the takeaway from this story. I hope you all enjoyed reading this story.